Hello, welcome back to my studio. We're going to look at underpainting white and also flake white and lead white. What you want to use that for is not to change colors, but to work it in on your first layers of painting. Specifically, perhaps covering your gessoed canvas with underpainting white. You could tint it as well, warmer or cooler if you want, and it dries pretty quickly, quicker than titanium white, for instance. So it's made with the properties to try and dry a bit quicker. It's quite a thick paint, and that is also to help with the drying ability. But if you want it more workable, you've got to add in turpentine spirits of some sort. It's quite specific, so don't put in things like linseed oil or typical mediums like liquid or something like that. What you will see when I work with it is just to get a thin layer over my acrylic gessoed canvas, and that is to get a layer of semi-dry oil paint onto the canvas, which binds with subsequent colors very easily. I don't want the underpainting white to be so wet that it mixes in and changes colors, but just to work over it and take away that dry acrylic gesso kind of feeling. Well, I thought I'll show you how I prime a canvas as well. So some acrylic gesso primer, palette knife, and I just butter it on, and I go over the entire canvas like this. This is actually a cotton duck canvas, and then using a brush I smooth all the ridges, making sure I get all the edges nicely filled in as well. And then when the gesso is dry, we can now try the underpainting white. So nice and dry, and it's got that typical dry gesso feel to it. Getting some underpainting white onto the palette. Make sure you get enough for your entire canvas. And I'm using a bit of Indian yellow to prime the paint and just tone it into a warmer color, almost a Naples yellow actually. And now I get a nice warm tone of oil paint on my canvas, and this should give it a nice warm feel and also get rid of that dry gesso. And there we have it, it's all done. Okay, so here is the canvas that I have used the underpainting white, and I'm not sure if you can see on the camera, it has a nice warm look to it. Certainly a lot warmer than the gesso or a white primer of any sort. Overnight I can definitely paint over this, and whatever I put on here is going to certainly adhere to this very nicely, and maybe give a better flow as well. So I will try that out, and let's see if it changes the feel and workability of the typical colors that I would put on. Okay, now my underpainting white is just about dry. I'm going to use some ultramarine blue, no mediums or linseed oil, just straight out the tube, and I'm going to start roughing in a composition for a new painting. And I find that there is no mixing or diluting of the blue paint. It goes on nicely, and there's almost a slight adhesion or extra adhesion that I can feel with the blue going on very easily. And ideally for my kind of painting, I'd probably want the underpainting white to be entirely dry, so that you get almost a smooth painting surface. And I must say, it's nice to know that I'm painting on an oil foundation, as it were, instead of the very absorbent gesso surface. So hopefully this also helps the paint look nicer as well. So we'll see how this turns out in a few weeks' time. Now, other old white paints from bygone days, and I say bygone days because it's pretty much gone, is things like lead white and flake white. Containing lead, they are quite dangerous. You don't want to ingest that in any way through cuts on your hands or through the mouth or any other means. Even sanding dry lead white can result in inhaling particles, and you don't want to do that either. So if you're going to insist on using lead white, you can find it from certain paint manufacturers that still produce old master recipe paint, and lead white and flake white is part of that. They have a very different characteristic to titanium white, and I've used lead white, I have some as well, and occasionally I do use it. I put on gloves and it's almost as if the paint feels heavier. It has a sheen to it which you don't get from titanium white, and almost as if it seems to settle into a glistening, very smooth color. Very different handling properties. It's also warmer, and maybe it gives that kind of look you just cannot get with modern titanium white. So lead white definitely has an appeal to those that still use it and find that unique quality appealing. Okay, those are the typical whites and a few more unusual ones that you may come across, and I hope this helps you decide on which white paint is suitable for you. You may want to have a couple on hand and just try out for yourself.